The scorching sun beat down mercilessly as Emma adjusted her sunglasses, trying to ignore the anxiety simmering in her chest. She stood on the observation deck of a skyscraper, gazing at the glittering skyline of Singapore. This was supposed to be the start of something incredible, her first step towards building an international business empire with Alex, her husband of 5 years. Their luxury real estate development venture was gaining traction back home, and this trip was meant to solidify partnerships with wealthy investors in Asia. Alex had always been the charismatic one, charming investors with his silver tongue and impeccable style. Emma was the strategic brain, meticulously planning each deal and ensuring their projects were executed flawlessly. Together, they were the perfect team, or so she thought. That morning, Alex had suggested they split up to meet different clients. He'd handed her a neat folder with details for a high-profile meeting at a swanky hotel and encouraged her to take the lead. "You've got this, Emma," he'd said with his signature smile, kissing her forehead. His confidence had been infectious, and she'd left with a renewed sense of purpose. But now, standing alone in the afternoon heat, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The meeting had turned into a disaster. No one at the hotel seemed to know who she was or why she was there. The contact details in the folder led to disconnected phone numbers. Confused and disoriented, she'd tried calling Alex, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Her unease spiraled into panic as she returned to their hotel room to find it empty. Alex's belongings were gone, as were the documents for their latest project and the emergency cash they'd stashed in the safe. A chilling realization washed over her. She'd been set up. Desperate, she pored through their emails and financial records, using her phone as her only lifeline to the outside world. That's when she discovered the final blow. Alex had drained their joint accounts. There wasn't a cent left, and she was stranded in a foreign country with no money, no contacts, and no way to get home. Emma's first instinct was to contact the police, but the language barrier and lack of identification made it nearly impossible to file a report. She didn't even have enough money to catch a taxi back to the city center. Alone and terrified, she wandered through the unfamiliar streets, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Hours turned into days as Emma struggled to survive. She pawned her wedding ring for a pittance to afford a few nights in a dingy hostel. Her pride stung as she rummaged through her purse for coins to buy water and cheap food. Alex's betrayal replayed in her mind, each memory sharpening her resolve to find answers. She began piecing together her husband's plan. Alex had always been ambitious, but his charm had a dark side that Emma had too often ignored. She realized he'd been planning this betrayal for months, carefully erasing her from their shared endeavors and funneling their funds into offshore accounts. What hurt most wasn't the financial ruin, but the personal betrayal. Emma had trusted Alex, poured her soul into building their shared dreams, only to be discarded like a pawn in his selfish game. But she refused to let him win. On her third night at the hostel, Emma met Leah, a local woman who worked at the front desk. Leah noticed Emma's haggard appearance and her hesitancy upon check-in. She offered her a discount and later, a plate of homemade food. Grateful and desperate for company, Emma confided in Leah her plight. Leah listened with wide eyes and offered a piece of advice. "In this city, connections are everything. If you want to survive, you need to find people who will believe in you." Inspired by Leah's kindness, Emma began exploring Singapore's bustling markets and business districts, searching for opportunities to rebuild her life. Her first breakthrough came when she overheard a conversation in a cafe about a startup looking for freelance consultants. Drawing on her extensive background in property management, Emma offered her services to the startup's founder, a young entrepreneur named Raj. Raj was skeptical of Emma's story but impressed by her expertise. He gave her a trial period to work with him, assisting him to find sites for a new luxury development. Emma threw herself into the work. She walked miles under the scorching sun, jotting down notes in a borrowed notepad, and used public computers and internet cafes to prepare detailed reports. As weeks turned into months, Emma's reputation began to grow. Raj introduced her to other entrepreneurs in Singapore's business community, and soon she was working on multiple contracts, earning enough to rent a small apartment and start saving for the future. But Emma didn't stop there. With every deal closed and every new contact made, she kept one goal in mind: finding Alex. She was determined to track him down and hold him accountable for what he'd done. She knew that Singapore's elite circles were small and interconnected. All she had to do was wait for him to show his face. A year after being abandoned, Emma stood on the balcony of her modest apartment, looking out at the same skyline that had once filled her with despair. The city had become her battleground, and she was winning. Her client list now included some of the most influential developers in the region, and she was on the verge of launching her own real estate firm. But the most important step was yet to come. Emma had gotten a lid. Alex was in Singapore, operating under an alias and posing as a wealthy investor. It was time to reclaim what was hers and expose him as the fraud he was. As she prepared for the confrontation, Emma couldn't help but smile. She had been left to die, but now she was ready to rise from the ashes and show the world what she was capable of. Emma's determination burned brighter than ever in the following months. She poured her energy into building a reputation as a powerful real estate consultant. She kept a low profile, knowing Alex might hear rumblings of her resurgence. This was no longer a matter of survival. Emma wanted to rise from the ashes and meet him as an equal. Or better yet, As someone who had far surpassed him, her strategy was carefully calculated. She networked tirelessly, attending every business event she could get an invitation to, even those that seemed out of her league. Dressed in borrowed evening gowns and radiating confidence like armor, she navigated the glittering halls of Singapore's elite gatherings, captivating potential clients with her sharp wit and undeniable expertise. Raj proved to be a key ally, introducing her to major players in the market. With his help, she secured her first independent contract to oversee the redevelopment of a prestigious beachfront property. The project's success catapulted her into the limelight, and offers began pouring in. For the first time in a year, Emma felt completely in control of her destiny, but her success didn't come without challenges. Alex's betrayal had made her wary of trusting anyone fully. She kept her circle small, her plans secret. Every night, she reviewed her growing portfolio and tracked Alex's activities in the shadows. Her research confirmed her suspicions. Alex was living off the money he'd stolen from her, using it to curry favor with influential figures in the region. He created a facade of wealth and power, but Emma knew it was all hollow. It was only a matter of time before she tore it down. Her opportunity came sooner than she expected at an upscale industry gala. She spotted him across the room, Alex laughing with a group of investors, his charm in full force. Emma felt a surge of anger, but forced herself to remain calm. This wasn't the moment to confront him. Not yet. Instead, she approached one of the investors in his circle, a silver-haired gentleman named Khalid, known for his vast property holdings throughout the region. Emma introduced herself and quickly turned the conversation to business. Within minutes, Khalid was engrossed in her ideas for revitalizing underperforming properties. As they talked, she noticed Alex casting glances in their direction, his smile faltering as their eyes briefly met. She didn't let it faze her. Instead, she doubled down on her pitch, securing an invitation to Khalid's office the following week to discuss a potential collaboration. By the end of the evening, Emma felt like she was winning. Alex now knew she was alive and thriving, but she hadn't given him the satisfaction of an emotional reaction. The game had begun, and she was holding all the cards. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of strategic moves. Emma worked tirelessly to solidify her partnerships with Khalid and other investors, gradually cementing her reputation as a rising star in the industry. She also kept tabs on Alex's activities, identifying a pattern of deception similar to what he'd done to her. He was leading investors on with empty promises, using their money to maintain his lavish lifestyle with little to no return. Emma knew that she needed to act decisively. With Khalid's backing, she brokered a deal to purchase a portfolio of properties that Alex had been eyeing. The acquisition was a public spectacle, a clear sign that Emma was a force to be reckoned with. For the first time, Alex was on the defensive, his carefully constructed image beginning to crack. Their inevitable confrontation occurred at a private auction for a prestigious piece of real estate. Emma had chosen this moment specifically, knowing Alex wouldn't be able to resist the temptation to attend. Dressed in a suit that radiated power and confidence, she entered the room with Khalid by her side. The hall buzzed with excitement as the bidding began, but Emma's focus didn't waver. She outbid Alex at every turn, her offers precise and calculated. When the gavel finally came down, signaling her victory, the room erupted in applause. Alex, visibly shaken, approached her as the crowd began to disperse. "Emma," he said, forcing a smile, "I didn't expect to see you here." She met his gaze with icy composure. "Did you really think you could get rid of me that easily, Alex?" She replied. "I'm not the woman you left behind anymore." Alex's charm faltered, replaced by a flicker of panic. "Look, I can explain." "You don't have to." Emma cut him off. "I already figured it all out. The lies, the stolen money, the fake deals. It's over, Alex." He tried to argue, but Emma gave him no chance. With a sharp turn, she walked away, leaving him standing alone in the middle of the room. The moment felt like a symbolic victory, but Emma knew her work wasn't done yet. Alex still had allies, and she needed to make sure he could never manipulate anyone the way he had manipulated her. In the days that followed, Emma set her final plan into motion. She compiled a comprehensive dossier on Alex's fraudulent activities, including testimonials from investors he'd scammed and proof of the offshore accounts he'd used to hide the stolen funds. With Khalid's help, she presented the evidence to authorities, ensuring that Alex would face legal consequences for his actions. As news of Alex's arrest spread, Emma felt a deep sense of closure. The man who had tried to destroy her was finally being held accountable, and she had taken back her life on her own terms. But the greatest satisfaction wasn't seeing Alex fall, but in knowing that she had risen above his betrayal, becoming stronger and more successful than ever. With Alex behind bars and her reputation firmly established, Emma thought that chapter was closed. However, success in the competitive world of Singapore did not mean the absence of challenges. The fallout from Alex's arrest sent ripples through the industry. Investors he'd ensnared with his schemes became wary, and whispers about her connection to him began to circulate. While Emma had made it clear she was his victim, not his accomplice, some questioned her rapid ascent. Still, Emma remained focused. She had always known that proving herself in an environment where trust is everything would require more than just surviving Alex's betrayal. She doubled down on her efforts, ensuring the success of every project she touched. The coastal property she had redeveloped blossomed into a luxury resort, attracting international acclaim. Her name began to appear in trade journals as a symbol of resilience and innovation. Then one evening, as she was finalizing details on a new contract, she received an unexpected message. It was from a lawyer representing one of Alex's former associates. He claimed to have information that might be of use to her and requested a face-to-face meeting. Suspicious yet curious, Emma agreed to meet him at a quiet cafe away from the city's prying eyes. The lawyer handed her a thick folder. These documents detail Alex's activities in the months leading up to his betrayal, he explained. You might find them useful. As Emma sifted through the papers, her blood ran cold. The documents revealed that Alex hadn't acted alone. He was part of a larger scheme involving powerful figures in Singapore's business world, many of whom were still operating with impunity. Moreover, they'd used her projects as a front for money laundering, with Alex as the fall guy. That's why you were targeted, the lawyer said in a hushed voice. You were the perfect patsy, an ambitious outsider with no local ties. The revelation was both devastating and empowering. For months, she had believed Alex's actions were born of personal greed, but now she saw the full scope of the betrayal. She hadn't just been fighting one man, she was up against a web of corruption that had used her. She could walk away. With Alex out of the picture and her career flourishing, she had every reason to leave the past behind. But Emma wasn't one to turn a blind eye to injustice. The thought of others falling victim to the same system that had almost destroyed her was unbearable. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Emma worked in secret, gathering evidence and forging alliances. She reached out to trusted contacts in the industry, including Khalid, who had become both a mentor and a friend. Together, they crafted a strategy to expose the corruption without endangering her growing empire. When the time came to act, Emma executed her plan with precision. She leaked key documents to investigative journalists, ensuring that the story became global headlines. The revelations rocked Singapore's business elite, leading to arrests, resignations, and a wave of reforms aimed at restoring integrity to the industry. But Emma didn't stop there. Using her newfound influence, she established an organization dedicated to supporting women entrepreneurs, providing them with the resources and mentorship she had so desperately needed in her darkest days. The initiative quickly gained traction, drawing support from high-profile figures around the world. At the organization's launch event, Emma stood on stage addressing a hall filled with industry leaders, journalists, and aspiring entrepreneurs. Dressed in an elegant white gown, she radiated confidence and grace as she shared her story, not just of survival but of transformation. I was left with nothing, she began, her voice firm. But what I learned is that even in the face of betrayal and hardship, we have the power to rise. And when we rise, we have a responsibility to lift others with us. The hall erupted in applause, and Emma felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This wasn't just about getting revenge, it was about creating a legacy that would outlast her and ensure no one else had to endure what she had. As the event drew to a close, Khalid approached her, a glass of champagne in hand. You've come a long way, Emma, he said, raising his glass. To think, a year ago you were struggling to find your footing, and now you're leading a movement. Emma smiled, clinking glasses with him. To resilience, she said, and to never underestimating a woman who has nothing to lose. Later that evening, standing on the balcony of her penthouse apartment, looking out at the city that had tested and transformed her, Emma allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The journey had been brutal, filled with betrayal, heartbreak, and uncertainty, but it had also been a testament to her strength. A reminder that even when life tried to break her, she had the power to rebuild. Alex's downfall was only the beginning. Emma's success wasn't revenge. It was proof to herself and the world that she was more than the woman he had tried to destroy. She had turned her pain into power, and now she was unstoppable.